Hard Hat Hockey. Welcome in. It is September 15th, early in the morning on the West Coast here, and it's official. Hockey is kicked off. Rookie camp has begun. It's the third week of football already. Time flies when you're having a good time, and there's no better place in America than this time of year with football and hockey on the horizon. We do got a special guest with us today. It's my younger brother, hence the episode title. Long story short, we've got a history of violence in this family, given the rivalry between the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. And today we will be talking about both teams and this historic rivalry, probably the biggest rivalry in the country. I'm just kidding. Just in the Dunn household. So with that, I'd like to introduce Alec Dunn, coming to us from Louisville, Kentucky. What's up, Alec?
Hello, everyone.
Alec, Go Stars. Alec, longtime Dallas Stars fan. Tyler Seguin is your favorite player, probably?
Historically, it would be Mike, and then it would be Seg. Now it is Johnston.
Wyatt Johnston is the man. We'll definitely get to him. And also coming to us from Columbus, Ohio, as always, Grant Miller. What's up, brother?
How we doing, Trent?
We're ready to rock, man. I'm really excited about this Hockey Team Kaboom segment we've got queued up. So let's roll right into it.
Hockey's right around the corner. I know you just mentioned it. Third week of college football season, week 2, the NFL's kicking off. The Jackets are in the prospect camp. They usually go to Traverse City for this. They're not in Traverse City this year. I believe they're in Buffalo. But we saw the young guys play the young version of the Boston Bruins in an OT game last night. Couple fights. Saw a couple guys drop the gloves. And it got those juices flowing, got a little bit of normalcy back into the Jackets fan community, and it was great to see. It's right around the corner, man. I could feel it in the air.
Love that. Some guys making some waves. It's crazy how far we are into college football already. Some team seasons are already ruined, i.e. Florida State. I mean,
They're dead.
It's game over. Yeah, and
I like the idea of somebody listening to this podcast. Like, yeah, I like hockey, but I like the 5 minutes Trent and Grant talk a little bit of college football.
Yeah, got to sprinkle it in there.
Yeah.
You make a great point about the rookie showcases. What a great time. Early 20s, you're on the cusp of your NHL career. I know the Avs, Kraken, Sharks, and Ducks, they're playing their tournament out of El Segundo, California. What a time. Great opportunity for some budding stars. Folks, as always, reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, email us at hardhathockeys1@gmail.com. Comment. We want to hear from you. Give us your stock tips, and we'll exchange stock tips with you in return. Is everyone ready for Hockey Team Kaboom?
Yes.
I'm ready.
Let's do this. Hockey Team Kaboom is sponsored by Roseville Skate Town, Northern California's premier home for men's league hockey at all levels. Sign up today and receive your complimentary skate sharpening and a free case of Moosehead Lager for your men's league heroes. Fun fact, 2 games this weekend, had a men's league doubleheader. We kicked ass in the first game, and then we're gassed in the second, and we looked terrible. So for anyone who's, cares at home about the Silver Division, Roseville Skate Town men's hockey team standings. So I digress. Hockey Team Kaboom today, the theme is fast food restaurants. Steak and
subject near and dear to my heart.
Yes, it's very American. So the first one here is Steak and Shake. Gus Belt, that's his name, Steak and Shake's founder, pioneered the concept of premium burgers and milkshakes. For over 85 years, the company's name has been symbolic of its heritage. The word steak stood for steak burger. The term shake stood for hand-dipped milkshakes. Variety of flavors there. Christmas time, highly recommend they roll out the peppermint. That is a huge hit. So, who wants it? Steak and Shake. Hockey Team Kaboom.
I'll take this one. Trent, do you know where Steak and Shake started?
No, I do not.
There's a place called Normal, Illinois, which it's not the Chicagoland area, but we're going to say it is for the sake of this podcast. This is the Chicago Blackhawks. This is Midwest heritage. I think of like a milkshake and steak burger combo. That's Kane and Taze. I mean, that's peanut butter and jelly. That's forehand, backhand. That's everything you want in a diner kind of fast food concept. And it's gonna win you a lot of games, which the Hawks have. But they're kind of rebuilding a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar. Steak and Shakes, they're not doing too hot. So they're trying to they're trying to figure out what they are in the age of, Steak and Shake for years was competing against just like basically gas stations and Waffle Houses because they were open super late. Now they're competing against like Five Guys and more premium. The game has evolved. But I love a Steak Shake. I love that you can just get those burgers at like any hour of the day. Pull the curtain back just a little bit. I used to bartend, and when you're, closing up you're finishing your shift at like 2 a.m., you're, like I said, your options are kind of like Waffle House or Steak and Shake, and you got to mix it up a little bit. I love both of those. Sometimes you want the burger, sometimes you don't want breakfast. So big fan, and it screams Blackhawks to me.
That's a good pick. I got to say, you can't go wrong with the cheese fries or a Frisco melt either. Alec?
I actually had the Blackhawks dubbed for Steak and Shake as well.
We're on the same page.
I know, we're on the same wavelength
here.
Used to be really good. Probably still is good, but for some reason just isn't working out. That's the Hawks.
That fits really well.
They're also one of the first restaurants to do which is really popular now. They had like a 4 for $4 or 5 for $5 deal in terms of kind of menu options, when a lot of places just had like $1 menus or $2 menus. Steak and Shake was like, well, we can't do that, but we can give you like 4 things for $4. Not everyone does that now.
Hockey Team Kaboom number 2 is Sonic. Sonic is best known for its menu items such as extra long cheese coney and toaster sandwiches, as well as freshly made meals and car hop service. If you throw it back, let's retrograde a little bit here. Maybe the 90s. The waitresses were literally skating around on those roller skates.
They were doing that into the 2000s.
Yeah, certainly. Probably limiting your employment force with that skill set. Okay, who wants it? Sonic.
I'll go.
Go ahead, Alex.
Send it.
And you kind of mentioned it, kind of was in its heyday in the 90s and early 2000s on the roller skates. I'm going to go Sonic as the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh, okay.
Kind of that similar logic. Used to be good. Now, when you go to Sonic, you're not really even sure what's on the menu or how it looks. But when you do go, it's kind of fun. Detroit Red Wings.
That was great. Excellent description. Yeah, exactly. The majority of NHL fans probably couldn't even tell you who's on the Red Wings at this point. Steve Yzerman is the GM, and everyone's just kind of waiting for the Yzer plan to work out. Just like the Sonic drink that they order. Also, the combinations of the drinks now. You could do. It's a science.
Yzerman is the 2 guys on the commercials.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what's on the menu, but I know those 2 guys are involved. That was good. I like where Alec was going with that. I was going to go the LA Kings just because like Sonic and like the car hop service and you eat in your car, that's very car centric, which is also true for Detroit. But I'm thinking of like Hollywood. I'm thinking of, 1950s nostalgia. The LA Kings went back to their old logo. LA, in its heyday, you kind of had to drive everywhere. That's kind of where my mind went. There was a Sonic in my hometown of Springfield that was like, I could kind of walk to it. It was like a little far, but when that opened up, man, that was a game changer.
Love it.
When it's good, when it hits, but I don't know if it's still good.
Boys, I love the picks today. The Kaboom chemistry is pretty hot right now. So let's keep this rolling into our final one, Chick-fil-A. A family-owned and privately held restaurant company dedicated to serving communities in which its restaurants operate. Credited with inventing the chicken sandwich, Chick-fil-A serves nutritious, debatable, freshly prepared food in more than 1,800 restaurants in 40 states. Folks, I give you Chick-fil-A.
Who wants it? I'll take it.
Take it.
All right, okay. They invented the chicken sandwich. Chicken sandwich is fine, but now everyone does the chicken sandwich. So it's less special. The New Jersey Devils invented the zone trap. Now a lot of places do the zone trap. Kind of, sort of. It's evolved. This is the New Jersey Devils. This is like, they created a monster. And it's I think we're worse off for it. They're not open on Sundays. I don't know what that has to do with the Devils. I don't know. The Chick-fil-A is definitely more popular than the Devils, but I think what Chick-fil-A has brought to this country is set us back a little bit in the fast food game. Fast food should be about burgers. It should be about red meat. It should be about grease. Chicken's something I want my grandma to make. I don't know. I feel conflicted. I'm not a huge Chick-fil-A guy, if you can tell.
I'm picking up on that. Alec, what do you got?
I kind of took this as like, for me, Chick-fil-A is probably top tier, 1-1, best in the game, and has been for a long time now. So there's a couple routes you could go, but my initial thought was just like a classic franchise, always near the top, Boston Bruins.
That's good.
That's well said.
Kind of has a family-owned vibe to it.
Yep. And you think about like the employee force of Chick-fil-A is so over the top, generous and thoughtful and considerate. And that scene, a lot of those Boston players, man, they fit in that community so well, and they are beloved in the town. So
They're required to be polite.
yeah.
That's why they moved Sagan. Sagan wasn't polite.
Yeah, that's right. That's why he's in Dallas. Speaking of Dallas, what a segue. Let's go right into our preseason primers. We'll wrap up Hockey Team Kaboom. Kicking off today with the Dallas Stars. They finished first in the Central Division. They are led by GM James Nill, head coach Pete DeBoer. Cap space currently is $6 million. Notable moves this offseason. They traded Radek Faksa to the St. Louis Blues for future considerations. Craig Smith departed in free agency. They bought out the final year of Ryan Suter, also went to the Blues. Joe Pavelski retired shortly after the loss to the Edmonton Oilers. Matt Duchene continues to sign discount deals for 1 year, $3 million. Ilya Lyubushkin comes over, finished his season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He signs with Dallas, 3 years, $3.25 million. Matt Dumba comes over with his short stint in Tampa Bay, signing 2 year by $3.75 million. Finally, they traded the rights to Chris Tanev to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 7th-round pick. Sounds like they weren't going to have the cap space to make that one work. Unfortunate departure there. Chris Tanev had a phenomenal playoff. And then they also traded Ty Dellandrea to the San Jose Sharks for a 2025 4th-round pick. So, culminating factors there. The blue line took a hit. It definitely, you're replacing essentially Chris Tanev for Ilya Lyubushkin. Ryan Suter, obviously not a huge factor, often a healthy scratch, and has been bought out now by his last 2 teams. So they should be fine there. And the retiring of Joe Pavelski certainly felt in the locker room. Safe to say, we started to see tread on those tires as this past season went on. Thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of equate, I can't really touch too much on the blue line aspect yet, TBD. But since it is football season, I equate the Dallas Stars to their hometown team in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh, okay.
Where it's like every year, really good regular season, and then we flounder in the playoffs. And I don't know what the missing ingredient is, but that's kind of been our staple for the last couple of seasons now.
Yeah, so funny you say that. So they were 8th in goals against in the regular season at 2.83. Offensively, they were 3rd in goals for in the league at 3.59 in the regular season. That dipped to 8th place in goals for in the playoffs, producing 2.74. So nearly a whole goal decrease, which isn't uncommon. We see that often in the playoffs. The goals do dry up. It was felt dramatically for this Dallas team, and you saw that really play out in the Edmonton series. Maybe not so much the Colorado series, RIP. So with that, the notable forwards still leaning on Tyler Seguin, 32, $9.85 million. Jamie Benn is in his last year of his $9.5 million deal. He's 35. Roope Hintz, big factor when he's healthy. He's good to go and clearly carries a lot of their deeper analytics with puck possession. He's 27, $8.45 million. Jason Robertson is 25 at 7.75. Matt Duchene still on the discount deal, like I said, at 33. And then you've got 2 entry-level contracts, Logan Stankoven and Wyatt Johnston. These dudes are playmakers. This is the type of success that you want to see facilitated when you're going for Stanley Cup runs. It's not often that you see teams with Stanley Cup potential be able to produce, young guys
Reload a little bit,
right? That's got to be one of the hardest things to do in the NHL GM's career.
That's the game. That's it. I mean, that's the difference between, the Bruins being, consistently good and teams like maybe the Caps a little bit falling off. I mean, that's just it. Like, can you stay fresh without breaking it all down.
It's continuing to reload while producing a cup contending team. And Logan Stankoven is phenomenal. Wyatt Johnston is literally lightning in a bottle. That dude scored so many clutch goals, especially in that Avs series. Even in the Vegas series, he clearly made a name for himself. He had 16 points in 19 playoff games. Regular season, 65 points in 82 games. On an ELC, I can't say enough how phenomenal that is. Key defenseman. You got Heiskanen. He's a baller. 25 years old, $8.45 million. Esa Lindell, 30 years old.
Every penny.
$5.8 million. Matt Dumba and Labushkin came over in the offseason, like I said. And then Thomas Harley, we're still waiting on his contract. He's a restricted free agent, 23 years old. I'd imagine a lot of that remaining $6 million will probably go his way. So we'll see how that plays out. Alec, any remaining thoughts with the depth chart currently?
I think we draft really well. Like Ottinger was draft pick. Like most of our guys that we get, like our biggest signing, I felt like the last one I can think of, you guys would probably know, but like to my mind is like Sagan. You know what I mean? That was like a big splash name. Like other than that, we go and sign like 50-year-old Pavelski is like a big signing, but everybody else is like kind of through the draft and stuff, which is good. But Jason Robertson stinks in the playoffs. He stinks. He scores 1 million goals and he'll have like one game where he'll score like 2 or 3 goals and everybody's like, there he is, here he comes. But like game in and game out in the playoffs, he's just a free skate out there. Folks, the Dallas fans.
Does he not like get in the boards or like what about it do you think?
He should be a goal scorer. I don't care about the boards. I want to see pucks in net.
And it's just not going in the net.
No.
The Dallas fans are transparent. And here, the Dunn brothers are clearly on the same wavelength. I literally have a note here that says Duchesne, Hentz, and Robertson all disappeared in that Edmonton Oilers series. Like I said, the goals dried up, and he was a big factor in the drying up of the goals. Jake Ottinger.
Alex, how do you feel about the goalie situation? Yeah.
I love the Otter.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a great nickname. It's a great mask. And play-wise, I think he's good enough.
Stuff like that matters so much with goalie situations.
It does. If you have a good mask, it adds an extra half points per game for save time. But that's proven. I think he's good enough to where, and it shows, like we're a competitive team. I don't think he's the problem.
Jake Ottinger, many people that had thoughts of if he was the guy, because like you said, Alec, they have fallen short in the playoffs with clearly a team that can win the Stanley Cup. However, with those speculative talks, he's fielding a 2.24 goals against average, yet 10-9 in the playoffs. So I think this comes back, the key factor here. He didn't get enough goal support. He didn't get enough help. Defensively, not the issue. They got to score more when it matters. So here's how I see this playing out. I think the Stars have a clear shot at winning the Cup. They got to capitalize now. You got a lot of guys that are north of 30 years old, and I think they finish first in the Central Division. Thoughts?
Alec?
Yeah, I don't know about first. I mean, definitely a playoff team, 100%. But I think it'll be the same shtick where we're going to lose in the conference final or maybe even before that.
Damn, man.
Transparency out of Dallas.
I think they'll be first. I still think it was a really good team, even with the change on the blue line and Pavelski. I mean, I love Joe Pavelski, but he wasn't like, the most important player on this team. And I think the locker room's strong enough to handle, a veteran leaving. Yeah, no, I think this is the best team. I think this is the most talented team in the Central.
It's a harsh rivalry here, Grant. The Dunn families. This rivalry has torn our family apart.
Now, I can only imagine.
I'm just kidding. Folks, honestly, Alec, for most of our life, probably didn't even care, and I probably took it way too seriously.
Oh, no.
No.
It definitely wasn't how it was.
All right. Well, folks, with that, our Dallas Stars analyst who lives in Louisville, Kentucky, Alec Dunn, also my younger brother, is going to depart for the day. Grant and I are going to continue on the episode here, but let's give Alec a nice round of applause on his debut here with Colorado Hockey. We'll run it back and we'll do it again, Alec.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Go Stars.
Talking with you. See you, buddy.
Thanks for being on, brother. We'll see you.
See ya.
Folks, welcome back. Rolling along with our preseason primers. We got the Nashville Predators Some would argue that they injected a vaccine of their own of just straight adrenaline to just get this train rolling in one direction very quickly. So let's get it going. They finished fourth in the Central Division. GM Barry Trotz. Their head coach is Andrew Burnett. They've got $1.5 million in cap space, probably because they committed so much of it to these names we're about to bring up. Notable moves this offseason. So Cal O'Reilly, don't normally put the PTOs on here, Grant, but Ryan O'Reilly's brother got a PTO with Nashville. So really hope that he makes the team out of training camp to get the O'Reilly brothers rolling. They traded Yaroslav Askarov, which we've mentioned before on the show. Most notable, probably the best prospect goaltender in the NHL. But after they committed big money to UC Saros, he wanted playing time and he asked for a move, and he was quickly moved to the San Jose Sharks. In return, they got Magnus Krona, David Edstrom, 2 prospects, and a 2025 first round pick. They traded Cody Glass to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Jordan Fresca. They signed Alexander Carrier to a 3 by $3.75 million deal. Brady Shea, 7 years, $7 million deal. Jonathan Marchessault, free agency coming over from Vegas, 5 by $5.5 million. And Steven Stamkos from Tampa Bay, 4 years, $8 million. Grant, thoughts on the Nashville Predators?
They're going for it.
Up front. They are.
They're going for it. This is a lot of, name recognition and guys that are good. I'm not going to dismiss, how good, a guy like Steven Stamkos is, even with his age. I don't know, man. We talk about the Central and like just how much of a grind it is. And I know these guys are capable of, playing good hockey and I think they'll make the playoffs certainly. But when the chips are down and like you just need a lightning bolt. Maybe one of these guys will do it, but I don't know if it's enough still. Until I see it on the ice, and I could be completely wrong. This is a team that might come out and just win like the first 15 games, they might win 10 of them. It could obviously, I could definitely see that happening where they just turn into a wagon. But until I kind of see it happen, I'm skeptical.
There's a lot of experience here, but with experience comes injury woes, typically. So they're going to have to avoid the injury bug, seeing as this team, similar to Dallas, is well north of 30 years old on average.
And you don't have, the guys like Johnston and those folks that we just talked about. Like, there's not really a lot of, like, who's next on this team.
No, certainly these big time deals they signed this offseason, like we said, the injection of adrenaline, this is going to look very promising for 2 to 3 seasons is my prediction. I think after that, you're going to see some of these deals probably not age the best, but to any team going for a Stanley Cup, it's worth it. I mean,
do you think their window, like how open is this window?
I think the window's very real now. I don't think it's going to last long. They didn't have a whole lot of success the last few years. They've kind of been stuck in the murky middle and haven't really established a lot of offensive prowess. Team known for the skill set of UC Saros, one of the best goaltenders in the league year in and year out. But even him, they committed 8 years, $7.7 million. He's 30. That deal is going to take him to 38 years old. As a goaltender, that is a huge risk in my eyes. Again, 1 to 2 years, I think, is the window here. After that, a lot of these deals may not look the best. Again, that's just speculation, but there's a lot of analytics that suggest that the age is going to be a factor moving forward. But until then, the Central Division has become a meat grinder. Teams like Utah Hockey Team got better previously as the Phoenix Coyotes. You got the Avs and the Stars that have been solidified for years now. Now you got the Nashville Predators that are significantly better, and even a team like the Winnipeg Jets that's no slouch. So like you made a great point the other week, Grant. Where are your wins, right? Like the guaranteed victories. Where are those at? Because
you gotta like, bank some wins at some point, and there's something said about like earning every point, and obviously there's no easy games in the NHL. But if you're grinding out every result, that wears on you. And it makes it tough to get through those tough winter months. And, you need to keep guys fresh somehow. Cause we've seen it. We've seen teams that just kind of hit a wall come the playoffs. And I could definitely see I could see that happening to the Preds, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So the key forwards, all north of 30, like we said, but all established names and bring a lot of skill and experience to the ice. This power play, I'm very excited to see. You got Philip Forsberg, Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Ryan O'Reilly. And then the rebuild on the fly piece, you got Luke Evangelista and Juuso Parssinen, both on entry-level contracts. These are not your Wyatt Johnstons and Logan Stankovens, but they're good enough players. They'll be third, fourth line guys moving forward for the Nashville Predators for years to come. So it's a good starting point to get the rebuild on the fly rolling. Defense, you got Roman Josi, he's 34, $9 million. Brady Shea is 30. We spoke to his deal earlier. Alexander Carrier, and then Dante Fabro is 26, very promising defenseman. He's at $2.5 million. Keys to success, we kind of spoke to it. So continued success for UC Saros with that 8-year deal. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the Askarov departure. I understand UC Saros wanted the bag and he got it, and you probably couldn't afford to keep 2 prime goaltenders around.
No, you can't. Yeah.
It's a tough loss though. When you've got a goaltender with a high ceiling in the stable who's ready to rock, it's tough to give that up. So I wonder how they look back on that deal in years to come. They do have a lot of draft capital, so a lot of room to work with approaching the trade deadline. They'll be able to acquire. They have 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. So, maybe look for even more acquisitions as the playoffs come around. They were 10th in goals for in the regular season, 14th in goals for in the playoffs. So offensively has not been their forte. But with the new names, the new additions, that certainly looks to change. And clearly Barry Trotz wanted to address that in the offseason. They were, however, number 1 in goals against per game in the playoffs at 2.17. Tremendously low. And we saw those games play out in that series against the Vancouver Canucks where I was predicting the upset. But those games were stalemates,
tough to watch.
1-0 games, 2-1s at best. Yeah, tough to watch. So keys, stay healthy and win now because the window is clearly now.
I also think they have to get off to like a really hot start. You can say that for every team. That's a very cliche thing, but like I think if you're trying to prove a concept of all these moves, it's got to be like right out of the gate. No one wants to play them. They're firing on all cylinders, and basically just have like a playoff spot wrapped up by Christmas. And I think it's got to be like, oh, this is the Preds are back. They have not made it out of the first round of the playoffs in a long time. I know we said like there's windows here. I mean, like I said, I could be proven wrong if they just start beating up on teams. But we kind of the Stars and Avs have accomplished significantly more than the Preds have in the past. We say 6 seasons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kudos to them for going for it. I mean, I'll always support a team saying, we're going to put money behind this project. I'm not at all saying that it's a waste, but let's see some results out of Nashville. So, and that's a town and an organization that wants to be considered in the top, and their answer to that is putting a lot of money behind some free agents. So, like, good on them.
Yeah, I got to applaud the ballsy move by Barry Trotz.
Like him, man.
I do too.
You want to come with Washington. You know how hard that is?
It takes some gumption to pull the trigger like that as a GM, and he was firing at the hip, Doc Holliday style. And I'll say it again. I know I've said it before. I met him on an elevator at a wedding in Ann Arbor. Super nice guy. You would have no idea that he's a famous GM in the NHL. Very humble, very approachable. So yeah, we're all rooting for him, and we'll see how it goes. All right, let's go out west. Colorado Avalanche finished 3rd in the Central. GM is Chris McFarland. Head coach Jared Bednar. Cap space $2 million. This includes an important piece of information for the whole analysis of this team. $2 million in cap space includes Landis Cogs. $7 million. It does not include Valeri Nichushkin's $6 million deal. So he's projected to return to the team in November after his suspension and his time with the NHL Players Association substance abuse program. Should that be successful and he return, that $6 million will now be applied, and they will have to clearly make some moves, whether that includes moving Nichushkin or moving another player to make room for Nichushkin. So we'll see how that saga plays out. We'll talk about it here shortly. Notable moves this offseason, not many, because there's not a lot of room to do anything. They signed Callum Ritchie to his entry-level contract. This is a great example of rebuilding on the fly right here, that this kid, I think, has all the potential to work out. Maybe not to like a Wyatt Johnston extent, but certainly has the ceiling of a top producing forward in the NHL for seasons to come. So that's what they needed, are players who were cheap and could produce now. Jonathan Drouin signed a 1 year by $2.5 million deal, a show me deal, and Casey Middlestat signed 3 years, $5.75 million, solidifying that second line center role that they were looking for a while. Key forwards, no secrets here. McKinnon, $12.6 million. Rantanen, $9.25 million. Middlestat, Arturi Lehkonen, $4.5 million, and Drouin. Defense, Cale Makar, $9 million. He's 25 years old. Devon Teos, $37.25 million. Sam Girard is 26, $5 million. Josh Manson, 32, $4.5 million. The blue line is very good. This team,
very strong blue line.
Yeah, it's probably kind of bizarre to say, seeing as you have McKinnon and Rantanen on the forward core. I feel like defense is the strength of this team. Not necessarily their ability to keep pucks out of the net, but more so their ability to generate offense from the blue line.
Yeah, when the puck is on their tape, like, good things are going to happen. Progress is going to be had.
Yeah.
Which is so much of what like modern, defending is really.
It's so true. This blue line has the ability to turn and burn and kind of make a three forwards look like five guys very quickly.
The puck moving north and south.
Yeah, which is kind of terrifying when that's coming full speed.
It's a literal avalanche coming at you.
Yes.
But
he's the success here. It comes down to the situation with the $13 million that is currently sitting at idle. There's no doubt some turmoil in the locker room with the Nichushkin situation. This is now his third stint with the substance abuse program, where he's made ill-advised decisions and put his team in a vulnerable position, and has not been available to play due to disciplinary actions enforced by the league. So there's $6 million. And then the injury to captain Gabriel Landeskog, just his absence has been huge, and it's visible. The team hasn't looked the same since they won the Stanley Cup in 2022. They're looking for those answers, but with $13 million essentially sitting at bay, it's kind of like a better version of what Minnesota Wild have dealt with the Parise and Suter situation, where you've got all this money wrapped up in assets that aren't producing for your team. So why you should be concerned? Alexander Georgiev had a questionable playoff stint here. Also some questionable behavioral issues in the locker room this past season, and you wonder how he's felt in that locker room as well.
Good.
Yeah, it's not ideal. But sometimes he comes to play. So that's certainly a question. The $13 million, what's going to happen with Nichushkin? Does he return to the team? When he does return to the team, will he be welcomed? If they don't want him in the locker room, do they try to trade him? Obviously, you try to trade him at that point. Are you taking a loss? What do you get in return for a deal like that? So much is up in the air. Gabriel Landeskog, he's been skating and he has been practicing with the team in the unofficial practices that they're hosting right now before training camp. And he looks like he's skating at full speed, right? But you just don't know with that kind of injury. Again, as a reminder, he tore some cartilage in his knee and basically had a graft put in for new cartilage to take and establish itself. You just don't know what you've got until you play in a game with full physical contact, how that's going to look. Obviously, his return is going to be a huge boost to morale. assuming that he can come back and even play at a third, maybe even fourth line level. Who cares at this point? Just having the man back will be a huge plus. So you've got these question marks, and that is why you should be concerned. Without Nichushkin, without Landeskog, with that $13 million sitting at idle, this team has historically become a one-line team where they lean significantly on the likes of McKinnon and Rantanen, which honestly probably led to why they went out and got Casey Middlestat before the trade deadline last season, because they were desperate for forward help beyond the top line. Okay, why you should be excited. Justus Annunen is the backup goaltender. He has looked great in the AHL for years. He is now surefire the backup behind Alexander Georgiev. So if that situation goes fast in a hurry, I do think that this Annunen kid has a very high ceiling and has a bright future with the Avs for years to come. He's 24. He's on his entry-level contract. One way or another, between Landeskog's health and Nichushkin's suspension / pending trade or return to the team, we don't know, that's going to figure itself out. So regardless, whether that $13 million finds its way back to the bench and starts to produce for the Avs again, or it's two completely new players, it's going to figure itself out. Probably the return won't be as talented as Landeskog and Nichushkin, but it will be new players nonetheless.
Clarity.
Yeah.
Trent, humor me here. I apologize for my ignorance. You're a guy that watches the Avs every night. Hypothetically speaking, if like Landeskog and Nichushkin can play, let's say something happens, just, theoretically that they're ready like night one of the season. Are they like, do you put them on the first line with McKinnon? Do they replace Drouin and Rantanen, or is it more of like that first line is just what it's going to be with next to McKinnon? Like, what's the expectation? Like, best case scenario, who are these guys for the Avs? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
They'll be on the second line.
Okay.
Drouin probably stays on the first, and yeah, then they'll slide to the second.
And I know hockey's pretty fluid. Guys slot in, certain guys. I don't know how, the Avs typically play it. Certain guys are more, the depth chart or the lines are merely a suggestion. But I'm curious about just what Landeskog's like ceiling is right now.
A lot of what Landeskog provides is not necessarily on the score sheet, but the Avs possession numbers. Well, I mean, in his last season,
I get it.
His that cup year, he crushed it. He had 22 points in 20 games in the playoffs and 67 points in 69 games in the regular season. So produced on the score sheet in that last season, and also the possession numbers for the Avs increase at a tremendous rate when he is on the ice. Nichushkin's presence also felt the win-loss record for the Avs is significantly different when he's on the ice versus not. So the loss of these two guys is massive. I spoke to why you should be excited, though. We'll certainly see how these situations play out. And by the trade deadline, we'll know what this looks like. Unfortunately, it will still be the same old note that we've seen now for 3 seasons of kind of waiting, which is frustrating for a team that's clearly in their cup window, because that comes across like we're just wasting time. So because of that, I've got them second place in the Central. This team clearly makes the playoffs. As far as how far they can take that playoff run is going to depend on these situations. So see how it goes.
I'm believing you guys.
Thanks.
I'm rooting for you.
Appreciate that.
Always.
Our stock market breakdown. So Grant, I'm buying stock, and let me preface with I didn't necessarily love the situation and how this played out. But Cutter Gauthier came over as a prospect in a trade from the Philadelphia Flyers last season to the Anaheim Ducks. That deal saw Jamie Drysdale go the other direction on the blue line. Played well for the Flyers in his debut. Cutter Gauthier makes his debut with the Anaheim Ducks in the rookie showcase. He had 2 points in his first game as a Duck, ironically versus the Avs. The Ducks prospect pool as a whole is electric. I'd buy stock in that whole thing. But also,
I agree. I've been critical of their kind of like how they have it organized, maybe, which is probably splitting hairs, but I'm with you.
They definitely have a lot of promise on the horizon. Time will tell if it pays off. Stock that I'm selling is the Seattle Kraken offseason as a whole. Grant, I texted you this week talking about kind of the philosophy behind how teams should engage in business depending on their success. The Seattle Kraken had a taste of success. They probably outkicked their coverage one season 2 years ago when they advanced to the second round.
They got hot early.
Yeah, since then they have not repeated that success, and frankly, not a lot of reason to believe that they're going to be some team that makes a huge run this season. Even doing so, and even missing the playoffs this year, they've committed big term and big money to guys who are over 30 and frankly may not have deserved it. So you were talking about Brandon Montour, Chandler Stevenson, and Adam Larson, and also Matty Beniers. Matty Beniers, okay, that contract was necessary as we talked about. That's what he was going to make on an open market. But it is still a situation that has left him with $4,000 in cap space remaining. And for a team that didn't make the playoffs, I don't understand where their head's at.
Yeah, I don't either. We've been kind of going back and forth with this, like off mic, just as the week goes on, where it doesn't, like, the numbers don't add up in a way that you're like, wow, look at what they're building. Like it feels like a guy who like just got a credit card for the first time. And it's like, oh wow, 6,000 credit limit, dinner's on me. And it's like, well, you got to pay that at some point. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting by the Seattle Kraken. And I don't, again, we don't necessarily root against anyone. I mean, there's rivals, there's teams I don't like, obviously, but like, I don't want to see this like bottom out. There's players on this organization I like, but I don't understand the makeup of what they're trying to do, really. And they might have success, they might win games, but just the cap structure and what they're doing long term, like I think they're going to hit a wall. And that wall's going to hurt, and there's not going to be a lot of flexibility.
I agree. To paint a clear visual here, when you're a team that doesn't make the playoffs, you want flexibility so that you can find success. You want the flexibility to be able to move and make acquisitions.
You got to see what works.
You don't put yourself in cement. And right now, they have cemented themselves to long-term commitments that have not yielded them success. So, I don't understand the thought process. We'll see how it plays out. I will say if there's any division where there's opportunity for growth or just movement in general amongst teams, it's the Pacific Division. And we'll be talking about them starting next week.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's going to be kind of their redeeming quality, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Got it, man.
Yep. Grant, stock tips. Hit me.
I alluded to this earlier in the show. I am buying so much stock right now. Might be one of my favorite guys in the Jackets organization right now. We just drafted him this past year. Plays out in the WHL for one of my favorite Canadian League teams, the Braden Wheat Kings. It's Charlie Alec, big time defender. He is in this prospect showcase in Buffalo, and he dropped the gloves last night and just destroyed this poor kid from the Boston organization. I'm not sure who exactly the tail of the tape was. I don't know if it's on hockeyfights.com yet, but what I saw was a guy that is willing to get his hands dirty. And you see these guys on the ice, man, because you go through like the prospects and you're seeing the highlights. You're like, all right, maybe there's something here. Like this guy looks good in the Jackets uniform, skates well, willing to mix it up. I think he's just going to be back out in Braden this year. I don't think any of the guys we drafted are, they're going to be in camp, but I don't think they're looking to get much action in Columbus. Fine. No problem. Keep developing. We're not in any rush right now, but I got my eyes on Charlie Alec. I'm really excited about this guy after seeing him play just one game. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but buy the stock early. We might have something here.
That's electric. Love a good Clydesdale coming up through the prospect pool.
Oh man, I just the guys we drafted just this past year like got me back on that optimism kick, man. I'm just like, man, these some tough, kids that I think they're going to get the time. They're going to get the time to find themselves. We're not looking to do anything crazy here.
I love it. All right, folks.
Yeah, I'll piggyback your selling. I'm selling Kraken's just cap situation.
Yeah. It's a good one to sell right now. Yeah. It's a good one to sell. Pretty universally understood. All right, folks, that's our stock tips for the week. Let's go to the transaction train station. Not a lot to analyze here. A lot of PTOs. It is PTO season with training camps kicking off. Tyson Barrie signs PTO with the Calgary Flames. Matt Martin with the New York Islanders, familiar territory there. Max Pacioretty signs PTO with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Adam, it's funny about him. It wasn't that many seasons ago. That dude was delivering big time points. Injuries have really set that career back.
You get hurt late in your career.
It's hard. It's a Blake Wheeler situation. Immense talent. Injuries definitely have taken their toll. Adam Ernie signs PTO with the New York Rangers, and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare signs PTO with the Colorado Avalanche. He last season played for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but he has also played for the Avs before. The big contract this past week, Adam Larson goes to the Seattle Kraken, 4 years by $5.25 million. Solid player. He had 18 points in 81 games. Relatively an even Corsi 4 and good possession numbers in the analytics. Again, he's not young. And 4 years, $5 million plus.
For a second line defenseman. He's not going to be on their top line, right?
No, he's not. Yeah. And so we're talking about, again, we're just further solidifying the cement in Seattle. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Okay, let's head on.
I got something real quick for the Jackets. The announcement of an announcement. GM Don Waddle did an interview with The Athletic and mentioned. So I guess if we're going to talk hockey, I don't want to belabor the point too hard. Like, organization's been through a lot of heavy stuff the past couple of weeks, and we talked about it at length in the last episode. If you haven't listened, please go back and listen. We talked about it, the passing of Gaudreau and the ramifications of that. We exist in a world of hockey and what the actual concept of what we're trying to do here. And Trent and I talked about earlier, the season's around the corner, and I will still say, I'm not ready. I'm excited for training camp. I'm excited for the normalcy. My heart goes out to the guys that are actually on this team and what they're still going through. The office side of this, the Jackets are now below the cap floor. If you're not familiar, we talk a lot about cap limits and what teams are doing. We just talked about Seattle Kraken and the Avs have cap issues or cap issues might be on the horizon. Part of the collective bargaining agreement between the NHL owners and the Players Association, the union of the actual guys on the team, they have a limit that you have to spend. You have to spend at least $65 million on your team, and that is to prevent, really cheap owners from kind of exploiting the revenue, making money, not spending it, trying to affect the bottom line, not paying players, not compensating guys for their production. You'd have to at least spend $65 million. And, unfortunate reality of what the Jackets are going through right now, based on our loss, we're about $3 million below that floor. So the Jackets are having conversations with the players union and the league as a whole to try to get, and it might not even be necessary mentioned hey, we were a forward short, a month ago, and that hasn't changed. So, I don't think they're done. But if something happens where training camp and preseason starts and a deal hasn't been made, they haven't found the right player, and they're still below the cap floor, they're looking to, negotiate with the players union to say, we're not trying to exploit the spirit of this rule. The Jackets don't want to be they don't want to be against the collective bargaining agreement. The spirit of the rule is what it is. This is not the Jackets organization being cheap or exploiting. This is a tragic event that has affected the makeup of the team and the way the dollars add up. So something to keep in mind. He mentioned PTOs. They're talking about maybe a couple of guys maybe they bring in. So who knows what that looks like. But something to keep an eye on. And it's something I kind of wanted to just touch on as we look to the season starting.
Yeah, Grant, you make a great point, and I got a thought that I just kind of formulated that I'll bring up in NHL housekeeping here. So with the news, we do have some players still available, to include longtime defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk. Kevin Shattenkirk,
Okay.
obviously recent experience with the Boston Bruins, so I wonder if they don't try to run that back. However, Kevin Shattenkirk is familiar with the likes of Jack Johnson and Boone Jenner with his Team USA experience. And just given the situation, the reality of the Columbus Blue Jackets right now, I wonder if Shatty doesn't, ponder the idea of a PTO with Columbus.
Wouldn't hate that at all. Something else we talked about, I don't know if we talked about this on the pod or off mic, but the idea of the Jackets utilizing that cap space to take on, what we say, quote, bad contracts in exchange for draft capital. Also something to maybe keep your eyes peeled for, a team, giving the Jackets a player and a draft pick, because the player leaving the other team's books is the value in that. So again, tragic. I'm not trying to make light. I'm not even trying to moneyball my way through, this event. It's just the Jackets were already, I think, looking to continually do something, and now it kind of has an even different sort of outcome, unfortunately. But we'll keep our eyes on it. I think the organization, I think, is handling this pretty well, I think, from what we've seen. And I don't know. I'm hoping for some normalcy a little bit. I don't know. I'm not really good at verbalizing this, but even just talking about hockey and seeing the guys play, the young guys play a little bit, felt really good.
Grant, would Columbus consider a Valerie Nichushkin trade?
You don't have a draft pick. I need a draft pick too. I need a first rounder to go with them.
A first? Oh,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just where we're at.
Come on. All right. I digress. NHL housekeeping this week. Pretty quiet on the NHL front outside of camp has started. Utah hockey is no longer a myth or a concept or a dream. It is real. The first goal in history for Utah hockey was scored by prospect Peter Repkick, and Owen Allard went on to score to get the game winner in Utah's opening game of the rookie faceoff tournament. That was against the San Jose Sharks. So Utah hockey is here, folks, in those jerseys that they probably stole from the Winnipeg Jets.
That joke will continue to.
Yeah.
We'll love that.
That's going to last all season until they make something new. Okay, as far as other players that are still available, we talked about Kevin Shattenkirk. He's going to get a PTO, just depends on where. Tony DeAngelo is another one. He's looking for a home. Previously had time with the Philadelphia Flyers. Didn't have the best relationship with shocking John Tortorella as head coach. He had 8 points last year with the Carolina Hurricanes, was a -7 in 31 games. DeAngelo has been a bit of a controversial figure in the locker room, so it is kind of a risk taking that on. Teams that love to take on big controversial figures like that are the Edmonton Oilers. So look out for that PTO this week.
I'm not going to give Tony I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He had a window where it's like, this guy's really good. And he let a lot of nonsense get in the way of that. And I think that's a shame, because there was a point in time where it was like, oh, this dude has it. This dude can be, a guy that, maybe you don't build your team around, but a cup contender has, and it's not happening. I don't know. I don't know if a team will bring him in. I don't know if he's still so good that you put up with a lot of the outside noise.
Well, to be honest, a team that does need help, especially after those offer sheets, the Edmonton Oilers. They lost Philip Broberg on the blue line, so I wouldn't be shocked if they at least reached out. So
I wouldn't either. Yeah, you're right.
We'll see how it plays out. And then finally on the injury front, Luke Hughes, defenseman for the New Jersey Devils, coming into his sophomore season with a bang. Quite literally 6 to 8 weeks out with a shoulder injury. So wish him the best. Hopefully he recovers in speedy fashion and gets back to New Jersey, where the Devils got a hot outlook this season. That's a good team. We'll see how that plays out. Grant, anything else for NHL news?
No, I'm good, man. We're like we keep saying, we're right around the corner.
Okay, we'll go into the hard hats. The hard hats of the week are sponsored by Leroy's Bar. Located in the heart of Worcester, Ohio, Leroy's establishment has provided cheap pitchers and a safe haven for all of the Fighting Scots of Worcester since 1969. Make your reservations today. My hard hat of the week is going to go to New York Islanders captain Anders Lee, also Notre Dame alumni. Anders hosted a charity event, so this is a mouthful. Charity Can Jam tournament for the Jam Cancer in the Can Foundation. I did not make that up. That is literally what it's called. Can Jam, if you haven't played, a very simple tailgate type game. Kind of like
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, kind of like cornhole. You throw the frisbee back and forth, teammate, and you try to get the frisbee into the can. If it goes through the front hole, it's a certain amount of points. And if you go through the top, it's a different amount of points. I couldn't tell you exactly. But fun game. They raised $200,000 for families that are affected with a cancer diagnosis through this Can Jam Cancer Foundation. And of note, Hockey Fights Cancer campaign is in November. And if you're looking for some good swag, one year I purchased a Colorado Avalanche Hockey Fights Cancer hat. It's some pretty sharp stuff that the NHL rolls out every year. Your team logo with the Hockey Fights.
It's like purple, right?
It's like the lavender. Yeah, they make some cool stuff. So look into that if you're looking to donate to a good cause.
That's good. It's tough to follow that up. That's like real genuine, positivity. We love that on this podcast. I'll keep it on the ice for this one. I was talking a lot about the Jackets prospects and my guy Charlie dropping the gloves. I'll go a little bit more the goal scoring side. A 2022 Jackets draft pick, a guy by the name of Trent. Write this down. You want to keep this handy for a couple of years. Luca Del Beluz. He's a center, plays, not sure what junior team he played for, but he's been on the ice a lot early for the Jackets. He had a brief call up at the end of the year and scored a goal, but he put the puck in the net against the Bruins and looks like just a really great finesse center, exciting to watch, got a lot of speed, puck on, got the puck on his stick and an interesting kind of, what's the phrase? And guys like stick handle really well. I can't think of it. He's one of those guys. And I heard a lot of great things about this guy when we drafted him, and you try to manage expectations, but now I'm seeing him in the Jacket sweater and he's putting goals in. I'm like, man, I really hope I could see him, with the Jackets this year, because that's what this year is going to be. It's going to see who these young guys are going to be. So that's my guy. That's my hard hat. Love seeing him, score against the Bruins, even if it was just a prospect tournament. I love it. I love these little tournaments. It just, you get filled with so much optimism every kind of early fall. So that's who I got my eyes on come camp and preseason.
Genuine curiosity, Grant. Is there some kind of hyphen in that name?
There's a couple.
There's a couple hyphens. See,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I want to do a study. There's got to be some kind of fact behind people with hyphens in the NHL produce X amount of goals. I think it's just kind of a surefire bet. Probably another stuff.
It might be an article I can write. I'll look into that. My internet's going out here. Yeah, there's one between like Luca and Del, and then Del Bell.
Probably a stock tip right there, folks. If you see names with hyphens, draft them.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
That's like when you're betting the ponies and you see a gray horse, even if they're not the favorite. It's like, ooh, I like that.
Ooh, yep. Yeah. Yep. A little hybrid breeding them. Yep. Love that. Folks, that's going to do it for us. It's September 15th. Rookie tournaments are here. Training camps should start tomorrow. Check out your team schedule, see where they're at. And all the PTOs are flooding in. Look out for that on the horizon as well to see if maybe like a Shattenkirk or D'Angelo drops this week. We will certainly find out soon. Enjoy the weather, enjoy the football, and enjoy the hockey to come as we see these teams start to take form with training camp. We'll see who makes the team and who doesn't, who's going to the minors, and all excitement and all good things positive. Grant, you got anything else?
I'm good, man. Always a pleasure coming on with you. Thank your brother Alec for me, for joining us, and I had a great time.
Folks, we hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next week. We love you.